invention is so good that it actually can't be improved upon. Story 1 plates. You can get the ones that don't smash. It's too good. Edit, why is this my most upvoted thing on Reddit? WHYY. But thank y'all for your upvotes. Story 2, the Schrader valve used to inflate your bicycle tires, car tires, tractor tires, etc., was patented in 1893. It is still used in virtually every tire on the planet. And now you know its name? Edit, my top comment ever. My ego is like inflated. Thanks. Story 3, the XLR cable. Until they can beam something directly into your head, we kind of hit a dead end for perceived sound. The simplicity of what a cable can do by allowing both AC and DC power to flow through, so you can power and draw a signal from microphone. Plus the fact it's so simple to remove the noise you get from outside interference makes it even more genius. Story 4, the toilet S-bend. We would still be throwing our Hershey soldiers out the window without it. Invented in 1775 and still used today. Source in Crichton from Red Dwarf. Edit, no. Oh, in Crichton, most professional classical music instruments are already in their final stage, like piano and violin. Edit wording. Story 5, those bones they use for tanning leather. People have tried using all sorts of different materials, but bone always works best apparently. Edit, I remember this very vaguely from years ago, so I can't find the thing I learned it from anymore, but hey, race an article about finding the tools from Neanderthal times. Also check the replies. There are some actually smart people who know more than I do about it. Story 6, the steam turbine. It is such a useful way to convert heat into electricity that it would not be surprising to see one strapped to a fusion reactor, if one ever get built. Story 7, crocodiles, or any apex predator that lived through the KT extinction, physically unchanged for 100 million years, because it's the perfect killing machine, a half-ton of cold-blooded fury, the bite force of 20,000 newtons, and stomach acid so strong it can dissolve bones and hoofs. Edit whoosh. Story 8, the brick. It has been made of mud, then mud with straw, then mud with clay, then finally with clay alone. That is as far as progress has taken the brick in the guess 8,000 years since it was invented, and it is still in use today. Someone, lost in the obscurity of ancient history, realized that you couldn't build really strong stone structures with irregularly shaped small natural stones, and hewing huge lumps of stone into regular shapes was just ridiculously hard work. That person also observed that mud that fell into a fire was left hardened when the fire died down. So they figured that if you shaped mud into regular shapes, big enough to carry one in each hand, you would have all the advantages of small, irregular stones and large, geometrically carved stones, but with none of the drawbacks of either. This thought must have taken a second to dawn on the inventor. The practical work to prove the concept must have taken a weekend, at most perhaps a week or two, to get the shape just right. And here we are, thousands of years later, and the thing has barely changed at all. Story 9, windshield wipers. My engineering professor always lectured us on how perfect the design is and how new changes made are strictly aesthetic and don't work any better. Story 10, a really good grilled cheese sandwich. Some good bread with good butter, some good cheeses with some heat and attention. It's delicious. I was going to say a shovel, but it looks like people have already said spoons. What is a spoon but a very small shovel? What is a shovel but a very large spoon? Are you asking if there's an invention that does its job so well that nothing else could do the same job better, like how a light bulb can give off more light than a candle? But so far we haven't produced anything that emits light better than LEDs. Or are you asking if there's an invention that perfectly solves a specific problem, like if you want to keep dry while walking in the rain? Your best choice is an umbrella. Things that come to mind are AM/FM radio. It is about as efficient as it's going to get. The pencil and pencil sharpener, I don't really see how they can improve them. The match and lighter, the umbrella, the hammer, the bucket, the TV, remote, the fishing pole, the hinge, the spring. Edit, wow, I'm so surprised how much debate there is about the TV. Remote, I just thought of it, and the other things I mentioned on their most basic principles, and the evolution of the items. How did the hammer come to be as we know it? Ancestors of man coming across a problem which required the use of blunt force, and uses a stone. The stone is eventually attached to a handle for more control. The stone is eventually replaced with metal, likely bronze, formed with a more flat and even shape to ensure equal force is applied over a given area, as well as more even wear, also not having to worry about the metal breaking into shards like a stone. The way of attaching the hammerhead to the handle went from tying with strips of leather to wedges. The handle went from bone to composite materials, and continuously redesigning the handle for the most firm and ergonomic grip. The metal went from bronze to iron to steel. Also, somewhere down the line, a claw was put on it to allow you to remove and reset the nail. You need to apply blunt force to something. Your first go-to item is likely to be a hammer. Honestly, I don't see how you can make any more advancements to the hammer. The TV remote has gone as far as it can go. It started as a simple 4-button design: channel higher, channel lower, volume, and on-off. More features were added over the years: mute, last, menu, info, record, fast forward, rewind, etc., etc. Now, they are moving to voice control and apps, so I don't think TV remotes will be completely phased out. I see no more improvements to them. Touchscreen. Why bother? Matches. Can you get them to burn slower? Lighters. Fluid-based lighters led to electric and rechargeable. Are we going to make them solar next? Pencil and pencil sharpener. Some people say mechanical pencil is superior. I disagree. It's an alternative, but not necessarily better. Mechanical pencil lead is very fragile and doesn't glide on the paper like the wooden pencil does. The pencil sharpener, be it electric or the hand crank mechanical, shapes the pencil to a fine point to use as much of the pencil as you comfortably can. AM/FM radio is affected by weather conditions, obstructions between the broadcast and the receiver, and the curvature of the earth. Repeaters allow for signals to travel farther for the purpose of simulcasting. But there's a reason why satellite radio is becoming the go-to format. The bucket, you added a handle for easier carry. Regardless of shape, size, the material it's made out of, or the material inside the bucket. All buckets are made for the purpose of holding, containing something. I'm not trying to say that these things are the be-all and all for their intended purposes. Say you want to catch fish, obviously with one fishing pole, you can only catch fish one at a time. While with a fishing net, you can catch many fish at once, so obviously you would want a net more than a pole. The fishing pole's design isn't likely to improve. What more can be done for it? Look at unnecessary inventions like fireworks. There's nothing to improve about them because they serve no purpose to begin with. They solve no real problems. There's nothing beneficial about them. Story 11, the aglet. That's the little piece of metal or plastic at the end, shoelaces. It's a simple, yet very helpful invention that is perfectly fine just the way it is. Story 12, I actually have an important question along these lines. Is there a sub for stories about reinventing the wheel? I often have a seed of an idea or a problem to solve, and then I develop that idea into a better idea. After X number of iterations, I realize I've just reinvented something which already exists. Is there any sub for such? Story 13, the game. What else can you do to it? It's nearly global. It's one of the few non-consensual things in the world that doesn't hurt you, and it's fun to play by yourself or with 3 trillion. Story 14, log by Blammo. What rolls downstairs alone or in pairs and over your neighbor's dog? What's great for a snack and fits on your back? It's log, it's big, it's heavy, it's log, it's better than bad, it's good. Story 15, the Jersey barrier. It seems that this shape of concrete barrier is just about as good as you can get for stopping vehicles, with some exceptions for variations with slightly better performance. Story 16, I've wondered how we managed to get traffic markings as effective as they are on the first try. I can't remember ever seeing anything different from what we have today. Story 17, definitely the spork. I've yet to see an invention that rivals its capacity for both forking and spooning, except for my roommate. He's great at both. Story 18, the bread bag plastic clip, the flat one that has a slot and teeth. I met the guy that invented it, and he had one made of gold in his pocket to show me. Interesting turn for the so, what do you do question? Story 19, standard kitchen knife, either chef style or Santoku style. There are devices that can do similar things, but pound for pound the versatility of these knives are unmatched. Story 20, conventional can opener. I remember when my mom came home with this new can opener she found, supposedly revolutionary because it cut the side of the can under the lip rather than the inside of it, thus eliminating any sharp and dangerous edges. Which sounds great until you go to open a can of tuna and realize you can no longer use the lid to press down on the tuna to drain the water. Arguably one of the best things that conventional can openers allow you to do. I immediately switched back to the 20-year-old metal can opener, and I think that was the last time anyone used the newfangled one. Story 21, a waiter's corkscrew. The small, sturdy, double-hinge kind that can fit in your pocket. Doesn't have to be anything fancy. The standard variety has an ergonomic, solid feel, and the little flip blade makes a great box cutter. It's like an impromptu multi-tool. It takes about 30 seconds to learn how to swiftly and elegantly uncork a bottle. Even while standing blindfolded, they blow all the other corkscrews out of the water, and it always makes me wonder why people keep trying to reinvent the wheel. The clunky rabbit ear ones or battery-operated monstrosities are just so unnecessary. Story 22, the roundabout. Give way if traffic is coming from the right, left lane for left turn or straight on, and right lane for everything else. One lane is fine too, it just works and allows traffic to constantly flow with no signs or lights. It's beautiful mechanical simplicity. Edit is my Britain showing, zip ties, they never fail you. Story 23, the diamond bicycle frame. There have been many experiments, changes, materials advances, and refinements, but for a non-suspension frame, the classic diamond, used in 1880s, is still the most popular and efficient use of material. Story 24, we really nailed the right piston configuration with the inline-six engine. I think we'll have switched to purely electric vehicles long before we invent a better configuration than the i6. Story 25, I used to think umbrellas had hit their pinnacle, then you hear about reverse open umbrellas and automatic two-person couple umbrellas, crazy times for umbrellas. Story 26, I think a legit answer is the lissoir. Storytime archaeologists found a bone tool in a Neanderthal excavation, but couldn't figure out what it was. They had no clues until one archaeologist showed it to a local that said, "Oh, that's a lissoir. It's used to help work leather. I have the exact same thing at home." Turns out, bone is just the best material, splintered. Metal didn't give a good finish and modern plastic ones break easy. Bone, on the other hand, only got better as it was used and always gave a good finish. Literally all of human and pre-human tool using history has not improved its source. Story 27, I heard from my brother that it's the military high-explosive grenade that hasn't been improved on in like 20 to 30 years. Its power is enough to destroy literally everything in a 30-meter radius, and it's full of ball bearings. He said something about if the grenade was made any more deadly, it would kill the user as they can't possibly hand-throw a grenade any further. Its only use is to dig a ditch, sit in it, and throw it over your head. If you threw it on flat ground, you and everyone else in a 30-meter radius would no longer exist. Source Singapore and S-Man. Story 28, I remember a professor saying the power transformers on the power line poles are 97 FE cent. So the company sacked all the engineers and haven't changed the design for over 90 years. Story 29, throwing cats into a spinning black hole to produce energy. As far as we understand physics, that's the best method. Story 30, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Jesus. The cotton swab aka Q-tip. Have you ever tried those swirly cone-shaped upgraded ones? Is ridiculous. I think a pasta strainer, it's so simple, a bowl with holes in it, but it's so incredibly useful when you have pasta strain. Story 31, simple machines. We may improve implementations, but we haven't improved the concepts. Lever wheel and axle pulley inclined plane wedge screw. Story 32, ID, argue the knife. At its core, it's a metal blade with a handle. Pretty much every variant blade design you could think of has been tried the best, have gained enduring popularity. Different construction methods also suit various tasks and roles. But ultimately, you want to make some big improvement just by finding a new handle material for either a fixed blade or a folder. A pair of hardwood scales with some decent ergonomic design aren't going to be too different than some high-tech material fresh out of an engineer's lab in the end. And I don't really see much chance of some super metal making for a better blade than a high-carbon steel. With a decent heat treatment, steel's got excellent springiness while being hard enough to take and keep a good edge. We've been using handheld cutting tools since before we were properly human, and they've never stopped being useful. It's no wonder we've pretty much perfected them. Story 33, books. The materials change, but a book is great. Like, sure, the Kindle is all travel light, but does a book run out of battery? No. Last thing I want when really into a book is for it to shut down. The only way you could turn off a book is if you set a light, which is useful in a survival situation. A big enough book is a source of tinder and a blunt object for hammering or bludgeoning. Also, a good shelf of books looks awesome.